everybody that's coming out. I welcome everybody to know my hotel, Islam, Rahubat, Assalamu alaikum, hello, what's up, that good stuff. Shalom, shalom alaikum. What this night was planned for was for just a brief introduction of what's not the norm, and everybody kind of has some personal questions that they ask themselves, and this is that night that, well, to explain it simpler, is we're in the age of Aquarius. If anybody don't know that means we're in the age of information, and being in the age of information, information is out there, especially with the internet, and we just want people to have more of a clear, concise understanding of what Moorish heritage, history
I'm gonna have to call you back because I don't think this camera now is Moorish. People running back and forth.
So we are still expecting some guest panel to arrive, and everybody seems like they're 20 minutes out. So we're going to get started for that 20 minutes, and since we're already running behind schedule, and just start. So when they get in, they'll just catch up to wherever we're at. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to have some topics on the table for discussion, and if anybody can add to it, I'll start kind of as the devil's advocate with some few questions once the panelists arrive. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to have a brief lesson on the flag, the Moorish flag, and its progression. Who's going to give us that lesson is Grand Chief Jelani Bey, and he's sitting to my left, and he set up the, just to give you a brief background on Jelani Bey, he's set up the temple here in Connecticut, or reestablished a new temple here in Connecticut, as opposed to the first one that was already started. But what we're going to start to get the ball kind of rolling, what we're going to start with to get the ball kind of rolling is the progression of the flag, so most people don't know where it comes from, and hopefully from that it might spark some other questions in other areas for you. What we're hoping for is a lot of audience participation. So after the speaker speaks, I'll mediate a question and answer section from the audience to the panelists. Jelani, if you'd like to take it over.
Good evening and peace, everyone. Thank you. As Brother Josh said, my name, or I am Jelani Lisa Abdullah Kalafani Bey, Grand Chief Divine Minister of the Worship Temple of Science of the world, and the Free and Sundry Moorish Science Temple of the world, and of America. I'm also the Principal Paramount Chief of the Atoll Salagi Kittiwah Nation, that is a, for lack of a better term, city under the United Washita of London. The reason why we tried to hold out so long is because we had some of my mentors coming in. They're still on the way. These are some of the people that guided me on my path. You're going to hear from me every month. So I want to give you an idea of where some of this information came from. One of the most interesting things about real world history is it has been sorely lacking in the educational system, not only here in Hartford, but in the United States of America. See, because after 1854, a man by the name of Horace Greeley was the editor of the New York Tribune, and he came up with this concept of the Reconstruction period of education. During that Reconstruction period, the truth. See what I'm saying? And the truth of the matter is, your existence here started at the beginning of time. As a matter of fact, out of 450 years of slavery, what they forgot to tell you is over the first 300 years, a lot of your ancestors were enslaved masters. Now, just like your brother said, if you don't Google and look up black slave owners in America, and it will tell you that the majority of the slave holders were Moorish or indigenous. As a matter of fact, that's why the Seminole Indians had their series of Seminole Wars, because you had bands of Cherokee who were lighter skinned, who had been talked into the slave trade by the European settlers, all right? And they wanted the Seminole to engage in that also, and they refused. It was either that or we're shipping to Oklahoma, to the reservation. Well, Chief Bowleg says, we'll try to ship me, and I will ship you first. Thus started the Seminole Wars, all right? So now, dealing with the existence of us, now that we have this new notion about Aboriginal and Indigenous heritage here. All right, well, you might want to ask, well then, what's going on with the transatlantic slave trade? Well, I mean, there's some pertinent questions that have to be asked about that whole story. There are certain sociological, scientific factors that are involved with that make you question, that give you a reasonable doubt. For one, there was no sewage systems on a lot of those ships. There was no running water. As a matter of fact, the crew had to have enough fresh water for themselves, because it was all salt water. So now, you have people allegedly lying at the bottom of the boat in hundreds. And they allegedly, had to do what they had to do where they were. Well, that's impossible, because we know what happens after urination and it stays there. The stench turns into ammonia. Inhaling ammonia will kill you. And what comes after number one comes number two. That's sitting there in moist, damp environment. It turns into bacteria. Inhaling bacteria will kill you. So it's not likely that we were taken in hordes across the Atlantic, or some, yes, of course, but nowhere near the numbers that they told us. Now, let's talk about what really happened, because all this ties into our flag and our history. What really happened was, in the 1500s, all right, you have a series of wars, all right? You have these settlers who come here, and we welcome them, no problem. And as they mixed and mingled into our societies, they manipulated one chief against the other. So there was a series of internal wars. The Yamasee realized what was going So you could not make the connection. Well, this is our job. It's not, all right? This is our job here, is to help you make the connection to who you are. See what I'm saying? Really, who you are. Because the majority of us grow up in school under the recognition that, well, our whole existence here is because we came over to slavery. And our counterparts, the reason they're here is because they're came over to slave master. So regardless of what kind of grades you got, when it came to history, it gave you an inferiority complex and made you believe that it's normal for you to ask for something from someone else or depend on them to give you something. Well, every nation or empire of people is identified by their flag. Their flag is one of the tenets of the representation of a nation. You must have your own flag. You must have your own constitution. You must have your own language. And you must have your land. All right? These things are very important to be a nation. So now, what they did is they sold you. What they did is they sold you on the fallacy that the red, white, and blue flag was the United States flag or the American flag. When the only thing it is a banner. It's our banner. The only thing it is a banner, a trading banner of commerce. This is why the song says what? Oh, say he does that star-spangled banner. They don't say nothing about no flag, do it? It's a trading banner. And it has no significance about land or a nation. So now, you guys want to see where the lineage of your flag comes from? The flag that you belong to? Because see, the first flag was a peaceful flag. It's not a Elder.
It's not, brother.
The first flag was a no-white flag. White flag with a gold star. This is yours. It's descendant of the ancient Moors.